Okay, so we're back again for another one of Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. You've probably noticed I don't say his first names because I can't pronounce it properly, and it's just annoying to me when I keep trying to do it and it's wrong. So I'm just going to call him Del Toro because it's a lot easier. So this episode was called The Autopsy, and boy did it have some autopsies in it. Properly graphic as well. Okay, so the story is kind of in two halves. The first half is why the bodies are in the autopsy room, and that's the first half. And the second half is sort of the autopsies going on. So the first thing we see is this guy running away in a mine, and then he throws what looks like a bomb. It blows up. Then we sort of move forward a little bit to the sheriff's office, and the guy that does the autopsies, I'm guessing he's a doctor, I don't know the official title, he's turned up and starting to speak to the sheriff. And the sheriff's saying like he's never seen anything like this before. This is a very strange case. It's really got him sort of psyched up. So then we hear a bit more about what's happened. So we find out that there's been a lot of people going missing in the local area. So they're doing sort of like a sweep through the forest, and they come across this like sack with a body in it. When they open up the sack, they find that the body's been sort of like cut up surgically, but there's no blood. So then the sheriff asks these two hunters to sort of stay around the area while he goes off, and when he comes back, the two hunters have disappeared and the body's disappeared. So then they do a bit of research and they find out that the last time that the person who the body was, they knew the body was, so they took photos and stuff. The last time this guy was seen is at this bar, and then we sort of have a flashback to the bar, and he meets this guy called Sykes that he used to know, but this guy Sykes is saying he's not Sykes, he's someone called Alan. So I've got a bit of a sore throat going, so I keep speaking weirdly and stuff. So yeah, he's not Sykes, he's actually called Alan. And the guy sort of argues with him a little bit, sort of, no, you are Sykes, I know you are, it's you, what are you talking about? So this goes back and forth for a bit, and then Alan kind of puts a hypnotic sort of trance on this guy and takes him off with him, so that's how he kills this guy. So the police now know they're looking for, so they go chasing after him. And when they turn up at his workplace, he sees, oh no, sorry, backtrack. So first they go to his house and they find this like orb, sort of like furry, glowing orb thing. So they take that with them to his workplace, and when they're at his workplace, they're trying to find him, and he suddenly appears by the police car. He smashes the police car window, takes his orb, and then runs down to the mine. Then we find out about like going back to the beginning when the guy's like running through the mine, he throws a bomb. So we kind of see sort of that from another perspective, the bomb going off, and the police getting blown back. So then we go back to the sheriff's office where he's speaking to the autopsy guy, and they say that basically he wants to take him to do some autopsies. So as they're travelling there, you find out that the autopsy guy's actually got stomach cancer and he's got about 6 months to live, which is quite sad. So he gets to the autopsy place and the guy's like, this is the guy that's done it, and these are the other bodies. So this is where they start to do autopsies. Obviously the sheriff goes home because he says like, you need sleep, you go home, I'll deal with this, I'm fine. So the autopsy guy starts putting his tapes on, like the autopsy people have those little tapes, don't they? And he starts like autopsying all the bodies. Something I did notice actually, there's a bit of a theme going on with spiders in this one. There's a lot of spiders in webs. You keep seeing them. I can't in my own mind link it to what's going on in the plot, but you often see spiders in webs, and I think it's a bit strange. I've not quite linked that in my own mind. I'm very tired. I mean, I'm not very well, so I can't link it. So yeah, we keep seeing spiders in webs. They sort of appear like outside of a window in the mine. You see one on the light fitting. Anyway, ignore that. So we're back in the thing, and he's cutting up the bodies, and you actually see in great detail sort of him like cutting the bodies open, cracking the ribs with these like hedge clipper things. He cracks all the ribs, takes the stuff out. So the first body's quite normal because it was further away. But when you get to the bodies that are closer to Sykes/Allen's body, the guy through the bomb, the doctor notices there's like holes in their chest, and when he actually cuts them open, they've been drained completely of blood. So obviously that's a bit strange. And I first started thinking vampires. This is where I was like, vampires, drained of blood, vampires. There's a hole in the chest where it's the way they sort of feed. But anyway, so then we sort of the doctor has this really good moment where he sort of the hairs on the back of his neck suddenly stand up for no reason. He's like, something's not right. He kind of talks to himself like, "Run, get out of here." But he sort of like says why, and then he sort of goes about what he was doing, and he basically goes from one body to another and like slowly autopsying all of them. And then all of a sudden the power goes out, and then when it sort of comes back on, he goes to have a look at the bodies, and Alan's body, who you keep, there's a really clever way of doing it where they keep showing you Alan's hand. He's sort of just staying like this the whole time, and then they sort of do more autopsies, and then you see Alan's hand again, just like that, not moving, and you see it again, and then this particular time after the blackout, it does that, and suddenly it jolts like really quick up, and then Alan gets up, and he's basically where he's obviously been broken and stuff. His bones aren't set, so he sort of crumbles around a bit. So he like puts like hand on the thing, and he sort of breaks, and he sort of falls down. He's trying to get up, and all the time the doctor's just staring at him, just like, oh my god, like he has no clue what the hell's going on. So Alan sort of comes forward and starts like going after him, and he gets him and like subdues him. And it turns out, to try and cut a long story short, that Alan went out stargazing in the woods, and some sort of alien, he sort of found sort of the alien ship, which turned out the bomb was an alien ship, and he took it home with him. And the alien has come out and gone into Alan, and obviously now, since Alan has been blown up, which is the whole point of what he was trying to do, he wanted to blow his ship up so no one could know who he was or what he was, which is this little the orb thing from the police car. And he doesn't want anyone to know that he's an alien, so he does that. But he also now he's trapped in this like corpse body where it's been smashed out and broken. So he obviously wants to get out into a new body, and he decides he wants to get into the doctor's body. So of course, obviously, the doctor has an unlimited supply of bodies that he could feed off of, because he's been feeding off the blood of his thing, so he knows that the doctor can get him fresh blood all the time. So he sort of ties the doctor up, strips him naked, ready to sort of like do the autopsy, and he lays next to him and autopsies himself. So he's got to get the alien needs to get out of this body, but it's obviously too large to crawl out of the mouth, so it's got to like be cut out. So he has to. So basically, got Alan there autopsying himself to get this alien out. And as he's doing it, he's having a conversation with the doctor the whole time about sort of how it works, how the actual Alan guy, the sights guy is still in there consciously, but like Alan's piloting the body. So the guy still knows what he's doing. He's seeing all these atrocities he's being committed, and he's sort of piloting the body at the same time. And I thought that was quite horrible to know that sort of someone's killing people and you can sort of see it happening, but you can't stop it. That's quite nasty. So he sort of, and the alien is kind of is very arrogant. Sort of thinks he's obviously above. He even says he's like transcended from like certain things. Obviously, he sees himself as above humans. Obviously, like. But as he's laying there, he's sort of cutting himself up. You actually see him like slice himself up, and he pulls the stuff apart. He sort of cuts the ribs, pulls the chest plate off, and you see the alien come out. And this is something that I've found interesting, because this is the third episode, and every episode there's been something technically. So in the first episode, the sort of demon that was in the girl's body was all tentacles and blah blah, blah, and had this like slit down the middle for the mouth. In the second episode, we saw a statue that looked like it had loads of tentacle things coming out of its head, and that had a slit down the middle. In this third episode, the baddie it looks like a Dalek. If you ever watch the Doctor Who series, it looks just like a Dalek. Not like the metal frame, but what's inside a Dalek. The monster inside Dalek looks exactly like this alien that comes out of this guy's chest. It's very similar, but it has like a slit, and then the head sort of comes out of the slit. Again, tentacles and a slit. It's really, I've noticed this in the third one now. I'm looking forward to the fourth one to find out if that's a reoccurring thing again. So anyway, so where are we up to now? So yeah, so he comes out of the body, and he starts to sort of like go into the man, so that he cuts the man, the doctor, sorry, cuts the doctor, so that the thing can then crawl into the doctor. So you see it sort of get onto his chest. Then obviously Alan Sykes' body dies, and just sort of stands and staring at him, and a little tear runs down his eye. And you see that the thing's trying to get into the hole where the doctor sort of cut himself on the ribs, like here, and the thing is sort of trying to crawl its way into it. And it's sort of moving the thing. And then the doctor had said to him already that you've forgotten something, but he wouldn't tell him what he'd forgotten. So now the doctor does the most heroic and disgusting thing, because I'll explain why it's disgusting for me in a minute. It was a real creepy, really. Oh, what he does. Basically, he works out that he's going to deafen himself and he's going to blind himself because he's been given a scalpel to cut himself open so this thing can get in more. He left one hand free so the doctor could cut himself, thinking that'd help the thing get in. So what he does is he cuts a little bit of his neck and he starts like dabbing it and starts like writing something on his chest. Then he takes the scalpel and he stabs himself through the ear, obviously from both sides to deafen himself, and then he slits his throat, but he stabs himself in the eyes. And you like the first one, you sort of see it from the top, so you don't really see it. So you sort of see the thing going in, the scalpel going into the eye. The second one, you actually see it cutting into the eye and go, oh, I don't like eyes. I've got a thing about eyes. I can't even put contact lenses in. I tried, I just couldn't do it. But like my eyes almost shut whenever my finger goes in. So this proper. Oh my god, this doctor is a legend. So he's now blinded and deafened himself, and he's bleeding out. So he's got nothing for this creature. So the creature gets in him basically. So then we sort of like go to the next morning, and the sheriff's turned up. Actually, no, that's a lie. Sorry, there's another little bit because basically you get the two consciousness fight because obviously the creature's gone into the doctor now, and the doctor can sort of communicate with the creature, this alien creature. And he says, I'm going to tell you, you forgot that the tape was left on and it's been recording your conversation the entire time, because where the alien was talking about himself, so that's giving away all the secrets of everything. And then he says, also, I've deafened myself and blind, so you're going to live in total darkness. And then the alien starts freaking out, no, realizes he's like screwed him over big time. And then we fast forward to the sheriff coming back, and he finds the body on the floor of the doctor, and he turns the doctor over, and you see what the doctor wrote on himself, and he wrote on it, like, listen to the tape. I think it says, listen to the tape and burn me. So in other words, he's going to just burn the body, so the alien inside dies as well. Everything's going to sort of be put right, so they're getting rid of the alien. Now that was this series, literally every episode has gotten better. This one was a very slow, like, it's not like an actiony episode, very slow burn episode, but I enjoyed it. I was like hooked, and I had to keep watching it. And the autopsy stuff, the way it's sort of in two parts, we get the first bit of the story, then you get the autopsy bit. I was literally hooked because I kind of like I wanted to know what was going to happen. I didn't like the eye bit. The eye bit, they could have got rid of that. I wouldn't have liked that. I could just don't, so I couldn't see it. But the fact they showed you, oh my god, that was gruesome. See, this series is an 18 rated. It says on Netflix it's an 18, and I couldn't work out from the first two why. That one is probably the reason it's an 18 because it's so gruesome. So I think this is the thing. Every episode's gotten better. The first one, I was kind of like I liked it, but it was all right, but it wasn't the briefing. The next one was really good with the rats and the sewer, or the rats in the graves and that. This one was a very clever one and a good like held you sort of, you had to find out what happened at the end. So that's that one done. So I'm now gonna go watch the next one. It is quite late and I'm not very well, so I'm hoping I'll get the next review done and put out for tonight, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, keep watching these if you enjoy them, and keep watching the show. It's getting better by the minute, better by the episode. Whee!